Hi, hello and welcome back. And in this lesson, we want to just somehow finish creating the exhibition by going through how to write the commentaries. So let's start. Introduce your exhibition shortly. No one has ever said whether to have an introduction or not to have, but it is good to have a very, very short exhibition. Then contextualize. What does it mean? It means clearly identify the objects. What is this object? Identify. And effectively link each to the selected prompt. So you have three objects, link them, which means what is the relation, what is the connection of this object to the prompt. And strongly justify the selection of the object. So, because what is the connection? Now, why you brought this object? And if possible, try to compare your objects. It is not even very advised or something, but it's good if you have the ability, and if you can, it's a good touch to do it. And have a holistic view on your exhibition. I will tell you about, and do not cross 950 words. So, introduction. This is examiner's comment for one exhibition that the student has received 10 out of 10, which means the best. This student has included an introduction to their work. It should be noted that this is not required, but students are free to include a short introduction if they wish to do so. In this case, the introduction is helpful, and as the student clearly identifies their selected prompt and theme and explains why they have focused particularly on issues around subtext and connotation. The student then makes explicit references to the prompt throughout the prompt. So it's a very good introduction that student had. Let's talk about contextualization. We said contextualize, which means identify the object and talk about it. So the first example is a comment. Examiner marked the exhibition 10 out of 10. The student has clearly identified three specific objects, and has effectively linked each one to the selected. The next one received 6 out of 10. Why? Let's find out. There are also clear references to the selected IA prompt. However, while there is some explanation of the links between the objects and the prompt, this explanation is underdeveloped rather than well explained. So the response would require further development and justification of points. And what about justification? Another 2 examples, 10 out of 10. There is also a strong justification for the selection of each object. 7 out of 10. The examiner's comment is, however, the justification needs to be stronger and more convincing, and the points more precise, particularly for the second and third objects. So I told you about comparison, and it's not a must, it's not advised strongly, but it's a good thing if you can do it, if you can pull it off. So this student has done it and received 10 out of 10. And this is the examiner's comment. In their discussion of the third object, the student makes a comparison between the dictionary and the song. It should be noted that there is no requirement that students make connections or comparison between their objects. They may choose to do so, but it is also perfectly acceptable to discuss each of the three objects entirely individually. And about the holistic view, again, another comment from the examiner from the same exhibition. The piece of work should be judged holistically using the marking instrument, which means that, for example, the discussion of the dictionary should be rewarded where it appears in the response, not just where it appears under the section labeled Object 2. So if you compare, then you should be careful that everywhere that you discuss, dictionary will be judged. This is a good example that the commentary of one of the objects, and it's the introduction part included. So the exhibition is the perfect example, 10 out of 10. I'm reading for you. The TOK prompt I have selected is: what challenges are raised by the dissemination and or communication of knowledge? So dissemination means spread of knowledge. This exhibition explores this prompt by reflecting on knowledge and language. Now the student introduces the theme, and more specifically on whether subtext and connotation always create confusion rather than help us to communicate knowledge. So now the student is just creating the context, real world context. The language we use in our everyday lives can often be interpreted many different ways by different people, depending on their cultural background, beliefs, ideologies, affiliations, personal experiences, etc. In particular, it seems that subtext and connotation can be particularly challenging as they are often only recognized by people that share some particular knowledge and experience. And it seems that they can easily be interpreted very different by different people, which can cause confusion and hinder communication of knowledge. So this introduction, before even telling what the objects are, gives the teacher, the examiner, a really clear view. And because it's exhibition, it will be exhibited later for all the audience, all the visitors. Now they know what they're going to face. Another good example, it is items commentary. So for object 1, the student chosen one Starbucks holiday cup. It's themed cup with New Year's holiday designs and stuff on it. This cup was used by Starbucks in 2017 as one and was controversial because some people viewed the symbol of the two hands holding hands on the cup as a sign that Starbucks was promoting a homosexual agenda, because they saw the cups as having an LGBT subtext. Different people interpret their own ways. However, many other people just saw the cup as spreading joy and love during the holiday season and didn't think that there was any particular subtext at all. This cup is particularly interesting for this exhibition. You see, the student now is explaining why and justifying why they have included this item, this object in the exhibition. Because a Starbucks spokesman said that they had intentionally designed the cup so that customers could interpret in their own way, which suggests that they were deliberately trying to communicate in an open or vague way rather than seeing the disagreement this might cause as being negative or a challenge. This way, the COP highlights how confusion arising from the use of subtext can be useful or can actually even be used by people intentionally to provoke discussion. The COP generated a lot of media attention for the company while still allowing them to say that how the COP was to be interpreted was up to their individual customers to decide. This COP also enriches this exhibition, again justifying the inclusion of the COP, the object, the exhibition, because both some members of the LGBT community and also some members of the right-wing media and public saw the COPs as promoting same-sex relationships. While both of these different groups interpreted the COP this way, their reaction was very different. With one seeing this as very positive, one being very upset about it. Yet other people didn't see this subtext at all. So in this particular case, it wasn't only that the subtext itself was only seen or understood by some groups and not others, but also that the reaction to the subtext also differed very dramatically. This is a bad example. First of all, this is the image. Please don't use this image, not because it has already been used, because it's horrible. So the prompt that the student chosen was, what role do experts play in influencing our consumption or acquisition of knowledge? So what is the object in here? Is the building, is it flag? Is it part of sky? So finally, the last photo is a picture of a political advertisement in a Geneva city street. I tried so hard to find the political advertisement, but I couldn't. The student continues, it is in my exhibition because it is an example of how those more closely involved in politics attempt to impart knowledge or convince the rest of the population to share their view. This shows in politics there is a lot of focus on people who are experts or who are really committed to a certain political position, trying to persuade other people to agree with them. This advert is something that any modern day person would be involved with more directly than they would with the first photo, because it is far more relevant to the present day. The audience of this exhibition might find it more compelling than the age statues, as they would be closer to them. This shows that experts can sometimes seem disconnected or distant from people, whereas this advert is more accessible to the audience and might be more influential. So the exhibition has received 6 out of 10, and in the examiner's comment, we can see these words: underdeveloped, lack of justification. I still want to know what is the advert, because the word advert can't be flag of a party. It's just, this is so wrong. And constantly the student mentions other objects but doesn't compare. So don't do that. If you don't want to compare, then why would you mention? Another bad example for what is the relationship between personal experience and knowledge, the student writes a chosen Spanish dictionary. This is my Spanish dictionary. It can give me knowledge so that I can understand the Spanish language better. Even though this dictionary helps me to learn Spanish, I don't think that I know Spanish in the same way that the person who is Spanish knows it. So basically, the student compares the person who lives in Spain or any Spanish-speaking country the way that they learn the language and are exposed to language, to dictionary. The question is, what is the relationship between personal experience and knowledge? So the justification is weak, as we read in the examiner's comment, and it's not convincing. So that's it. Practically, this is how you should create your exhibition. And as I told you, after all, it's all in your teacher's hand. So now that you have the knowledge of how, at least basic knowledge, fundamentals of how to choose the objects and how to write the commentaries, and more importantly, what not to do, what not to choose, what not to write, then we are going to go through all 35 IA prompts. I will give you a little bit of explanation about them and maybe some possible objects. And I hope it helps you more to choose the best IA prompt for your exhibition. Thank you, and see you on the next lesson explaining and talking about the prompts.